for more, the ABC's election analyst Antony Green joins me now, wrapped in ballot papers. And the Senate sheets have previously been called basically tablecloths, but how big are they getting now?
This isn't just an issue for Victoria, Senate. This is every state. It's particularly a problem in New South Wales. It'll become a problem in Victoria at this election, and it will become a problem maybe in every state if these parties nominate in every state. Now, people in other states probably haven't seen this famous ballot paper, and I'll have to stand up to show it.
This is an old one.
This is the 1999 New South Wales Upper House election.
Be careful with it, don't rip it. It looks like a delicate historical document.
1 metre across by 700 metres deep, and had 264 candidates on 83 groups. Now, that is how the New South Wales Electoral Commission got round the problem of printing the ballot paper. The problem for the Commonwealth at this election, with all the different parties, they can't do that to the ballot paper. They can't multi-deck the ballot paper. They have to print a ballot paper 1 metre across. Now, this is the standard Senate ballot paper, which people are familiar with at most elections. That's a New South Wales one, which are nearly always larger. Now, they can go as large as this, which is 1 metre. That is the maximum printing size they currently have at the moment.
Right.
Now, at the last election, to fit 33 columns on, they had to go to 8.5 point size. The estimate at this point is 6 point type. Now, you can't read 6 point type, which is why they're proposing to give people magnifying glasses in the ballot paper.
Do you know how the magnifying glasses are going to work? Are they actual, like, it's not kind of the monocle thing? It's
I think they're looking at the sort of sliding ones. You can sort of see lines or not. Okay. I mean, it's really being investigated. But the point is that this is turning the election into a farce. People will be given a ballot paper. The polling places are only 600 millimetres wide. The ballot paper is 1 metre. You'll need the dexterity of a contortionist to manipulate it, the skills of an origami artist, and you'll be lucky if you can read this ballot paper.
Yeah. So it's just getting ridiculous. When are we going to get to the stage where it's all done electronically?
Well, the problem is electronic isn't going to fix the problem. The problem is the sheer volume of candidates. If this was being done electronically, you still got the problem of being offered 50 or 60 groups.
But at least they won't have to be printing sheets of paper that are a metre and a half long.
There is still the problem. We have some minimal rules about getting on the ballot paper. You must have a certain number of nominees. You must lodge a nomination deposit. But they're quite easy to pass. And if you are a registered party, and the rules for registering parties are pretty loose in this country, that's why we've got 50 odd at this election, you can just nominate candidates without nominees. You just go straight onto the ballot paper with 2 candidates. You pay your $4,000 for 2 candidates and you're on the ballot paper.
So is there any plan to tighten that up at all?
I think they'll have to. That's what they did in New South Wales after that giant ballot paper. The other thing that may come out of this is the reason so many parties nominate is because of the group ticket voting system, where you vote one above the line and you swap preferences. Every one of these candidates, no matter how few votes they get, how little campaigning they go, has complete control over their preference ticket. So if you go in there and vote for a very sexy-looking named party, your preferences will flow off somewhere else. And people can say, well, vote below the line. But the problem at this election, if you try and vote below the line, you won't be able to read the ballot paper.
Unless you've got the magnifying glass.
Elections are a process of trying to elect a parliament to represent the will of the public. And if you've got to the situation where people can't read the ballot paper, then how are we getting the will of the public?
Yeah, so how do you get around this? Like, as I said before, isn't electronic voting the way around this, where people just go in or able to do it online somehow? Presumably they're doing that in some democracies already. And
they are. The problem in Australia is preferential voting. That makes electronic voting more complex. If the solution is to spend millions upon millions of dollars to make electronic voting, and you still end up with as many candidates, you're still getting the problem that the number of candidates and the order they appear and those sorts of things are interfering with the way people vote. We know from these ballot papers, if you're top left on a ballot paper, you'll do better than when you're bottom right.
Yeah.
So there's a number of issues there which are affecting the vote anyway. I don't see the electronic voting. We're not going to have electronic voting for the Senate by the next federal election. It's too expensive. It's expensive. It's hard to organise. It's got to be tested, and you only use it once every couple of years. The solution that they'll have to come up with is tightening the rules for registration of parties and tightening the rules for nomination. That's happened at this election. They've doubled the deposit. They've doubled the number of nominators. But what's happened is a surge in minor parties, which means the new nomination rules are overcome. And if parties are prepared to put up $4,000, they get on the ballot paper.
Okay. Would you'd be sad to see the tablecloths go anyway? You kind of got a bit of an attachment to them.
Oh, look, I mean, these are great fun. You take them overseas and people laugh at you. What is this thing? You know, it's people, you know, and I get criticised. People say to me, but you're just making it tough for independents and people standing up for an issue. But my argument is the more candidates you get on the ballot paper, the less opportunity people have to know who the candidates are. We have compulsory preferential voting, so you have to have a preference for every candidate on the ballot paper, and it defy anybody to know more than about 7 or 8, maybe 10, 15 candidates on a ballot paper. So what do you do with the rest of them?
Have you come across any interesting parties for the coming election yet that have been registered or?
Oh, well, look, people can go to the Electoral Commission's website and the ones that are all registered there, many of them, some of them will have a chance of getting elected because of the operation of the ticket voting system. But, I mean, honestly, at this election, the Senate will be a very important result. What happens in the next Parliament is going to be determined by the balance of power in the Senate.
Yep.
And if the balance of power in the Senate is determined by people casting votes for candidates they don't know on ballot papers they can't read, in spaces where they can't manipulate the ballot paper, then the election's becoming a farce.
So you're pretty keen to see these guidelines tightened for registering a party. What do you think the chances of that actually happening are?
Well, there's nothing they can do about it before the election.
No,
basically.
but before the next one.
But something will have to be done about this. Yeah. And the thing that concerns me most is that as this becomes more ridiculous, the more likely what you're going to get is really strict rules that prevent anyone getting on the ballot paper. And the reason so many small parties come on the ballot paper is because of the ticket voting system. If they didn't have that, then they'd have no chance of getting elected and they wouldn't nominate in the first place.
Okay, just before we wrap up, the ABC's got the Australia Votes website up and running now. Where can people go to see that?
It's at abc.net.au. I think we've got I haven't got the address on the top of my head. It's called Australia Votes 2013, abc.net.au.
And you've had a fair bit to do with the construction of that?
Oh, I've had a lot to do with setting up all the background material on that. And the one thing I'll say for people who want to use it, it works on smartphones and tablet computers this year. So it's been designed so it'll work on whatever mobile device you're using.
And you're getting excited in the run-up to the election?
Well, it's a lot of hard work to some extent.
You love it.
It's interesting because it's become, the closer the contest is, of course, it's more interesting for me.
And 50-50 now, according to one poll.
Yeah, I'll still wait to see whether that's just a bit of a honeymoon period.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. But at this stage, it's certainly looking closer than it was 3 weeks ago.
Okay, Antony Green, looking forward to your comprehensive coverage of the election this year. Cheers.
Thank you.